I see transformation every time I work with you.
Within a month of me registering the business, I was already seeing clients at a location, and within 2 months of me registering the business, I quit my other job and was completely independent.
I've never had a conversation with anybody like that. I've not been this excited in over a year.
You taught me all those techniques and it worked, man. It worked.
Ever since then, I'm a fan of yours, Josmar.
He is helping me figure out what to say, how to say it, so that I can really reach and share my message.
Having epiphanies while we were having our session.
It's an unexplainable feeling, to be honest.
Felt such a release. I felt lighthearted and relieved.
I would recommend Josmar and all his services to everyone.
Absolutely. I would definitely recommend your services.
I would absolutely recommend Josmar.
I would absolutely recommend Josmar and his services to everybody.
This guy knows what he's talking about.
The best of the best of the best.
Just give me a heads up, you guys. Everybody hears me clearly.
Good. Yep, I think we're good. Yep.
Beautiful, beautiful. So let's get it started. It's 2:38. Want to get this to you. If you have a pen and paper, it's great. Notepad, it's awesome. I want you to relax. There's no way that you're going to get everything during this call, right? So I want you to just relax, take in the information. I'm going to be sharing my screen, showing a short PowerPoint, and also going to be sharing with you in the chat for those that are here broadcasting through the Zoom. I'm going to be in the chat a little bit. I'm going to be sending links to the different assets that I'll be creating for you guys that I've created for you. And a majority of the work is in these handouts. So you're literally getting them, right? So that, again, you don't have to worry about any of that. It's going to be in your possession, and I'm going to go through it on my screen as well. So without further ado, let me share my screen. How is the screen? Do you guys see the PowerPoint presentation? Making sure.
Yep, we can see it.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm gonna save you guys the video. It's a whole bunch of people speaking about the cool stuff that I've been able to help them with. So my goal here is to help you all just have an edge when it comes to preparing for the career fair that's happening on Monday, for the job fair. Secondly, it's to know what to do during the fair and then what to do after the fair. And just for the sake, it's like, I just want to let you guys know a little bit more about me and who you're learning from today. So my name is Josmar Tejeda. I am an alumni from NJIT, class of 2011. And, you know, I'm excited to give back in this way. This is probably the first of many different things that I'm going to be doing. And all the people that you see on the screen are startup founders, and I've been able to help them grow their businesses. And, you know, it's really important that you understand that the startup market is very different from your typical corporate or traditional means of doing business. And in having produced a lot of events, I've had a lot of conversations. I've had a lot of people come up to me asking me questions about a job. I've also been the one asking for work as well. So I've had many conversations over the past 20 years in and out of events to prepare. So I'm going to be giving you guys what works, you know, and what you'll need to succeed, right? So you're getting something from somebody who's done it before. I've been at NJIT career fairs. I've been hired from people at NJIT, and I've been able to work with a lot of startups, right? So I'm going to show you the specific strategies on how to build your network, how to present yourself, what to wear for these events, and then just developing sound communication skills that, you know, you guys can use, or ladies can use, whether you're an engineer, you're somebody who is a creative, you're somebody who works in the business side, marketing side, you know, whatever you are, just everybody needs to be able to communicate effectively. And it's going to be important for you moving forward as you continue at NJIT and eventually graduate as well, right? So some strategies to stand out. So again, so a little bit more about me. I graduated in 2011 from the architectural school. And at my first job out of college, I worked at a startup. I worked at a startup construction company called Blueberry Builders. And within maybe 2 years that I was there, I was able to help the business grow. I helped double the size of the team. I helped double the size of the operations as well. And we recruited about 4 or 5 people from NJIT specifically. So I was headhunting. So I was recruiting for a startup, right? So I'm going to share with you what works and what doesn't work, right? Now, who's going to benefit from today? Virtually anybody, but specifically if you lack work experience, we want to make sure that you start to have conversations that are actually positive when it comes to your career. We want to share with you what to say, what not to say, how to act. And this is for people who may have some trust issues or lack confidence in themselves and their ability to communicate effectively. Maybe you're nervous and this is your first job fair. I don't know. And I just want to make sure that you're prepared, because not preparing is probably the last thing you should be doing, right? It's a 4 days away. You want to make sure that you have all your T's crossed, your I's dotted, right? And your P's up. So what we're going to talk about today are the things to do before the fair, right? Things to do during the fair, and obviously things to do after the fair. Okay. And before we even get into that, I just want to talk more about what you're getting into, right? There's a difference between startups and corporations, right? There's a difference in the culture. There's a difference in how people act. There's a difference in the work environments. Typically more corporate businesses were once startups, right? But the way they operate is very different than a startup does. So if you don't already know this, obviously this is the first time you're hearing this, but if you already do, that's fine. Just keep this in mind when you're communicating with recruiters specifically at the event that's happening on Monday. So, again, thank you for everybody that's here. I want to thank CDS for being here, and the Entrepreneur Society as well, because I wouldn't be here doing this without you guys as well, right? CDS has helped me immensely in preparing myself for my career, especially in understanding this, right? So what are the differences, right? There's a lot of pros and cons. And for the sake of sharing this with you now, there are a lot of things to consider when working and choosing to work at a startup. Now, obviously, I'm not going to read the screen. You're all adults and can read on your own. But there's different aspects that you're going to find in a startup position versus in a corporate job. More or less, startups are, let's say, they're driven by action. They're driven by, it's the launching of something. So it's a really a fast-paced place where you got to be adaptable. And it's not necessarily the place you want to be if you're looking for long-term, like competitive salary, benefits off the rip. It really depends on what the status of the startup is. But just know that the people who are interviewing you or you're communicating with at this job fair are most likely representing small companies, lean companies who are very diverse and are very hands-on, right? And you'll notice that sometimes the roles that you take on, you'll be doing you'll be doing more at the job than what's on the job description, right? So there's some assets that you guys have been handed out. For those that are in the room, do you have everything do you have the documents that we've provided for you?
No, they don't have them physically, but they got access to the QR code, so they should have access on their phones.
Yeah, they'll have a film, just stopping by.
Beautiful, beautiful. So that even better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through this stuff, right? I'm going to run through these slides as fast as possible and then get to these assets because they're going to be what you can use. There's, again, like I said, it's impossible to talk about all of this in 90 minutes or 75 minutes. But I wanted to make sure that you had something. I wanted to make sure that you left here today with some tools that you can use and some guidance to prepare yourself for this job fair and virtually every other job fair or conversation that you're going to have with a hiring manager or a recruiter, right? So when it comes to factors to consider, again, you want to consider what are your career goals, right? You got to evaluate what your goals are in the short term and the long term, and make sure if a startup environment is aligned with the career objectives that you have. You also want to consider preferences for workplace, right? Or culture, or the pace, or how fast a company moves or not. Again, the startup structures are very lean compared to corporate business. I have a lot of friends that graduated from NJIT who went directly into corporate, and it's great, amazing. For them, it was awesome. For somebody like me, I'm a little bit more aligned to the pace and the action that's happening at a startup, and it's mainly because of my risk tolerance, right? I have a very my comfort level, especially in stress, is very high, and I enjoy solving problems, right? So that's why I really enjoy startups, because it allows me to it allows me to play more than one role, wear several hats without seeming like I'm multitasking or doing 4 jobs at the same time, right? We're doing whatever it takes to develop the company, right? You also want to consider what your skills are and what your experience is, right? And for those of you who don't have work experience, again, experience in group projects, experience with different things on campus, even volunteer efforts. A lot of what got me started when it comes to this startup energy was joining a Latino fraternity, right? So I had to host events. I had to do a lot of things, and the brothers that are in the room will tell you it's not easy to run a chapter, but it's very gratifying when you actually succeed in doing so and you help other people in the process. And to do that, you got to self-reflect. What are your skills? What are the things that you enjoy about the things that you've done in the past? And what are the things that you anticipate enjoying in the roles that you're looking to take on? Right? Also, the values and priorities are important. And I'm telling you this now, your students, you want to start thinking about what your values are. You want to start thinking about what do I actually enjoy? What am I okay with and what am I not okay with, right? Trying to understand the work-life balance. It's not something that people talk about. I'm sure you guys talk about it a lot now in college, but something that you're gonna be tuning into and thinking about as you progress in your career, right? So I would say these are factors to consider, because the career goals, environment, your risk tolerance, your experience, and your priorities and your values will let you know whether something in the startup industry is for you or not, right? And I'm just premising this up front just to we can set the right expectations, okay? So when it comes to the startup, actually, let me start sharing some of my other screens, right? So let me pull back, and I'm going to share with you some of these documents that I have here on Google Chrome. Let me get these open for you. So again, and I'm going to be sharing these with you, dropping them in the Zoom. If you're not already registered with the Zoom link, please do it so I can send you the recording of this session and send you these assets as well. All right. So develop these assets for you. Right. And we're going to start with the beginning. Right. So again, it's almost impossible to cover all these topics, but I wanted to make sure that you, ladies and gentlemen, had everything that you need to succeed, right? I'm doing what I wish was done for me when I was in college, right? So I'm going to share this link as I go. These are quick tips, right? Which I call the rite of passage, right? The things that are important to do. I've already kind of set the tone, is trying to understand the startup landscape, identify what your skills are, start building your network, right? And you're at school now. You can leverage alumni, professors, other classmates. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Steve. People like us, building a strong online presence, customizing your resume, building a portfolio. These are all the things that you want to do to start, right? And again, I'm sure that you've already started these as well. And I'm not going to go ahead and read this. I'm giving you these so that you can have it. So I'm going to share it with you live here. Make sure anyone can get this link. Let me unrestrict it. Boom. All right. So this is the first one in the chat. And let me actually copy the name of the file so that everything is organized in here. All right. So the first thing that you'll get is this. And again, just take your time with these resources, right? it's your if this is your again, maybe we can see for the sake of who's in the room and who's online here, and you can hop in the chat. You don't have to share your screen or share your voice, but how many of you have already been to a career fair or a job fair? Okay, Steve already been to a job fair. Awesome. Right. So a few of us have been to job fairs. Some of us may have not, and that's fine, right? These right here, Bilal, I see you, right? So we have all of these things that we can do to prepare, right? These are things that you can do. Like, again, there's simple stuff that you should be doing anyway, whether it's a startup job fair or a regular job fair, right? So I covered a lot of this stuff as well. So I just want to continue to go because again, I got a lot of gifts for you, right? So the startup career preparation, this right here is definitely where we want to go. So on your own time, you don't have to do it now. I set up the same Excel little spreadsheet inside of here so that you can circle which aspects you are most aligned with right now, right? Be honest with yourself. Circle whether you're most aligned with the startup aspect or with the corporate aspect for each of these aspects on the side, and circle them. If you have checked off or circled more than four or more, then working for a startup may be a great option for you, right? Self-awareness is key, right? So next step after that is really doing your research, right? I keep on saying identify your career goals because it's that important, right? What you want to do right now, you're in a position where you can forecast what you want to do in the future, and it's gonna change, right? But not having a goal is gonna have you kind of wishy-washy and just accepting whatever comes to you. It's also gonna have you seem a little bit desperate if you don't know how to communicate effectively, right? So identify what you want, what you're looking for. It's a competitive market. So knowing what you want you're going to be at an edge over other people who don't know what they want and are just applying for everything and just trying to make it work, right? So also we have you got to research to participating companies. So I actually have had this link I'm going to share. Actually, I should be able to share it. I'm going to share it in a bit as I go through this. After I go through this one sheet so that you guys have that as well. But you want to research the companies are going to be there, right? You want to research their websites, LinkedIn profiles, if you can find articles online, identifying what the mission, the vision, what the values are, right, of that company, because for a startup business, these things are very important, right? Understanding the mission and the vision. Startups are very mission based. So you want to make sure that you are in alignment with the mission of the company, because you better believe that the handful of people that work for this startup are there on purpose, with a purpose, right? And, soon after, seeing the participating companies, if there's a way for you to find the roles that are available to you, obviously that would be ideal. Knowing these type of thing beforehand is going to just make it a little bit easier for you. I'm not sure if you're provided that or not. I guess I'll find out in a few, but you want to start to not only identify what roles are available, but what roles you would be best to fit in, right? Based on your major, based on the industry that you're looking to work in, what are the types of roles in those industries? I'm sure you've been looking them up. I'm sure you've been researching for that. But if you haven't, do that due diligence. Like, see what others are doing in the space, see what their job descriptions are, see what the salary ranges are, right? There's so many things that you can do preemptively to prepare yourself. And in doing so, you also want to prepare questions for recruiters, right? You want to prepare questions, and I have provided you with a lot of these resources already and some of these other downloads. So again, you're in for a lot of information that you can actually use. And then obviously having a follow-up strategy, which is a little bit more about, what you're going to be doing. It's preparing before you go to a job fair or a career fair, preparing before for how you're going to be following up after, right? What are you taking note on? What are you collecting from everybody in the room so that you know how to follow up afterwards? And then I provided some additional resources here, right? So for this one, let me make sure that I share this as well with you all so that you have it. You can view it at your own accord. You can download it, you can copy it. It's for you, right? I made this for you. So let me copy this. I'm going to keep on going. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I'm used to being on in meetings where people say, don't post anything in the chat. I want you to post in the chat, right? Definitely want you to post in the chat. So when it comes to startups are very selective. Okay. Startups are very selective. So your goal with the startup is to communicate effectively and be as specific as possible of what you're looking for, what you're looking to do, how you're looking to do it. And they're often seeking candidates who not only possess the skills, but also have a strong cultural fit, right? And an entrepreneur mindset, right? Again, most startups are in that growth phase or in the launch phase. So they're looking for people who are going to be there to help them either grow the business. It's pre-scale, right? So again, it's the energy in the office or in the room, or if it's an online remote business, the energy with the team is going to be of this entrepreneur mindset, this entrepreneur spirit, right? They're looking for self-starters. They're looking for people who are ready to hit the ground running, right? And making an immediate impact. So your ability to communicate the immediate impact that you could have by working with them is extremely important. You want them to be able to visualize what it would be like to have you in their company, right? Right? There's also a lot of risks with startups and who they hire. So they're looking for candidates who are passionate about the mission and vision. One of the last things you want as a founder of a startup is to have people on your team that are not about it, right? People on your team who are not about the cause. You want to make sure that that's in alignment, because if it's not, sure enough, after a certain part of time, it's going to be known. They're going to see that you're not really about the mission and vision, and it's risky, right? Because they may replace you, right? Because they're looking for energy that's more aligned with what they're doing, or they might kind of like phase you and put you somewhere else, right? So I'm speaking from experience, right? So you want to make sure that the companies that you're looking to work with have morals, have a mission and a vision, that you're aligned with it. And again, since they are looking for people who have a little bit more than just the right skills, they're also looking for people who are adaptable, right? Who can perform skills or tasks that are outside of their typical job description, right? So you got to be flexible. You got to be ready to like roll up your sleeves and learn as you earn, and help them earn more as you continue to learn and grow with the company, right? And obviously the values and the priorities, like it's going to require your ability to communicate. It's going to require your ability to solve problems, to manage time, and do a little bit of everything. And again, it's only speaking from experience. So before the fair, you're going to want to identify your career goals. You're going to want to research the participating companies, explore the available roles, right? Prepare questions, prepare your resume. And sometimes it actually may work best to have different resumes for different roles and different positions, especially if you know the companies beforehand that you're going to be connecting with. And then obviously, like we already mentioned, is developing a follow-up strategy, right? So more specifically, during the fair, I can't see the brothers that are in the room. I asked them to dress for success. So I'm assuming they have, right? And again, startups a little bit more lax in what you wear during the job, but we're not focusing on what you're wearing during the job. We're focusing on what you're wearing now. We want to dress for success. And you want to dress for success, and you want to go to the companies that are less interested, that you're less interested in, to kind of get your reps in. You want to be confident with your communication. You want to trust your ability to communicate what it is that you do, what it is that you're looking for, and more specifically, show genuine interest, right? So practice. Go to companies that might not be in alignment with what you are. Practice your pitch. Practice asking questions. Practice kind of just speaking to recruiters, not at them. you got to imagine during the fair, there's so many people that are speaking to these recruiters and these hiring managers, and there's a whole bunch of people that are just speaking at them, right? On top of that, you have people who are not really interested in talking to the recruiter. They just want a job, right? So they're there, they're getting stuff, they're picking up information, they're sending their resume over or giving them their resume. You're not really developing a conversation, not making good eye contact or anything, right? So besides speaking clearly, you want to make your presence known. Be present with the people, have your shoulders, your posture in front of them, right? One tip that I haven't written down here is that when you're talking to a male specifically, especially if you are a male, males, when we're talking with each other, being head on with each other is not necessarily the best approach. If you can lean a little bit at an angle or even get next to the person you're talking to, the energy in that conversation, the energy in that specific means of communication is going to be less aggressive, right? And it's the opposite when you're communicating to a woman. When you're communicating to a woman, especially if you're a male, you want to be full frontal, right? You want to give them your full attention and match their posture, right? And if you're a woman, same thing. When you're with a woman, you want to not necessarily be in front. You want to be a little bit to the side. If you're a woman and you're talking to a man, you definitely want to give them your full frontal, right? So when it's the same sex, same gender, you want to be on their side. And that's just, again, tips that I would love to go through even further, but I can't necessarily do it for the sake of the time that we have today, right? Another thing that I don't see often is using your resume, your portfolio, or the folder that you've created for this group. Like, use the resume to communicate your value. Like, actually point to the different parts of your resume to help them in wayfinding later on, right? The subconscious mind picks up a lot of information, especially when you're bombarded by all of these conversations. So the goal is to actually use your resume, like use what you've put together, dress up and use what you put together to have a conversation. Especially if the recruiter or the hiring manager has the resume in their hand, because now they have something that's visceral, they have something that's physical that they can work or communicate to you with. They can hear you as they're reading, you can point things out, but it just makes the experience more visceral for the person and more memorable for the person, right? And then obviously you want to collect as many business cards, contact information, phones, emails. You want to collect as much as possible and then organize it after the event. Okay. I'm running through this so that I can go through questions with you because I know that you have them, right? And we're going to continue to go through all these assets that I have for you, right? So again, what do you want to do after the event? After the event, you want to make sure you organize all the materials that you collected and organize them by business. Maybe you want to organize them by job role. Maybe you want to organize them by business sector or industry, right? But prioritize the companies that you align with the most, right? And when you follow up with them, send personalized follow-up emails, right? The more personalized the email can be, the better it's going to be at converting that conversation potentially into an invitation for an interview, right? So, for example, let's say you're talking to a recruiter and you start talking and they mention something that is relatable to you. It could be a sports team, could be a specific industry, it could be gaming, it could be, it could be trading, it could be so many different things. It could be very specific nuances in your field, right? So if there is something that you find in when you're asking these recruiter questions, those are little things that you can follow up with. Like, I really enjoyed talking to you about how civil engineering has changed so much over the last 20 years, right? Whatever it is that was communicated, you want to be genuine and you want to take note of how those conversations were so that when you do follow up, it is personalized. Obviously, connecting on LinkedIn is a no-brainer. You want to do that. And you also want to research the companies further, right? Ask questions about like maybe events that the company is holding or online resources that they have available. Maybe they're doing a webinar, whatever, find these things, right? And obviously preparing for interviews, that's a whole separate that's a whole separate workshop right there. So I wanted to provide these things and network with you all to see if this is great for you, if this works out for you. I'm sure that there's a lot of other things that we can put together for you at workshops in the future, both online and offline, right? And again, this is an example of what we're talking about: attending information sessions and webinars. In this case, I'm not necessarily hiring right now, but I do own a startup and I do have equity in a few of them, right? And having conversations like this and learning about businesses and what they're doing also gives you an edge that other people who are just going online and applying for jobs don't have, right? So let's actually take a break from this PowerPoint and go back to sharing some of these Google documents that I have prepared for you all, right? So each of these documents is its own exercise, and you'll find that some of them, they work together. They kind of work in sequence, right? So the third one is getting a recruited plan. So this is a little bit more tailored to like the things that I've talked about in the other ones, just going deeper and deeper, right? You want to define your target companies, right? You want to tailor your resume and your cover letter, develop your strategy. And again, the best way to develop a strategy as students is to leverage the university's resources. You have NJIT Entrepreneur Society and NJIT CDS in the room, right? I'm an alumni of NJIT. There's other alumni of NJIT on this call, right? There's people who are out there that are hosting events as well. I love producing events and going to events. It's actually what gives me an edge in the industry when I'm looking for work. So going to events and having conversations to expand your connection is ideal, right? And startup founders also like doing the same thing. They also like communicating with people at networking events, right? You're going to see startup founders at networking events more than you're going to see them at job fairs, right? You're going to see them at industry conferences, right? And you're definitely going to find them on LinkedIn and on their websites, right? So start to develop your network now. Like you're at a prime position in college to develop your network. So just get it done, right? Just do it. Get out there and be somebody, right? And preparing for interviews, again, it's a little bit like preparing for the job fair. You want to research the target audience, which is the market or the business you're looking to work with. You want to try to identify the company culture, right? And asking those type of questions at the job fair is going to put you in a position to know a little bit more about what the company culture is. Practicing just common interview questions, things like that. Like there's so many resources online that you guys can use. And what I've seen is that at NJIT, there's also a lot of events happening based on resume building. And again, you have people in the room that can also help you with that as well, right? So just get committed. You're gonna find that you're gonna talk to a lot of people. Some of them are gonna be misses. Some of them are not gonna call you back. Some of them are not gonna hire you, right? Don't give up on yourself. Stay organized and follow up, right? You want to be persistent at this. More than ever before, the market is very competitive. And the edge that you have is that you're students of NJIT, right? You have a well-rounded education from an amazing university, right? Like a lot of people don't have that, right? So like be persistent and know who you are, right? And communicate that and seek the support of your peers, mentors, make connections now that you're in college. And the cool thing about this is that you can continue to like track the success. I spoke to X amount of companies. I got calls from X amount of companies, or I didn't get callbacks from X amount of companies. Try to see, okay, what was it about this company? Was it because I'm in alignment with them? Is it just because they have an opportunity for me? Right? Is it because I made an amazing impression on the recruiter? Like take note of what occurred on your process of getting there and adjust your plan accordingly. Okay. This is stuff that again is super valuable. I wish I had this stuff available to me when I was over there, but again, I did leverage CDS a bunch, especially when it came to these quick interviews, these quick on the spot interviews with companies, right? So let me share this link with you as well. This is the getting recruited plan checklist. It's also going in the chat as well. So boom, you have this available to you. Let me get that link again. All right. Awesome. That one's in bold. So you have that. Now, in this fourth one, this is more about the checklist, right? When it comes to your resume. So again, I wish I can give you a full resume workshop right now. But I'm sure some of you already had these workshops. And again, there's resources in the room, people in the room that they can help you out with that. So, but here are some just quick things like to understand, like you want to understand the startup role and environment and the language that they use in their marketing, in their website. You want to take note of how they're communicating what it is they do and who they're targeting in their communication, right? So that you can model that level of communication if you're going to tailor make a resume for that company specifically, right? You want to highlight relevant skills and experiences, and quantify your achievements and your results. You want to use action-oriented language, and you want to customize for each role, right? There's other stuff here as well, but what I would really love to get into is into the next, into these two other assets. So let me make sure that you have this as well. I feel like Oprah. We're giving gifts today. Let me make sure that I have this shared. Okay. Nice little live action here. Little startup resume checklist. All right. Live in the chat. So you all have that as well. And I want to cover these two, kind of going back and forth between these two. I go into your experience and your skills assessment first, because we just talked about it. And this is actually something that for me was a super transformational, even after having worked many years in the industry. So, you know, it's very easy to get lost if you've been kind of working on your resume over and over and over again, right? The resume, again, it's a specific format. Most people write it in a Google document or in a Microsoft document. So, you know, at the same time, it could be limiting to only see your skills in that way, right? So I like to go wide with it, right? It changes the way that I see myself, or I can kind of review what I've done in a different way. Most resumes you find are not happening horizontally. So again, this is especially for those who are visual learners and need for a kind of like a break on just looking at just documents all day. This experience spreadsheet, which I'm sharing with you now, has allowed me to identify a lot of things about myself that I wasn't even aware of, right? So, and I'm going to just go over it here real quick. When you open up this document, it's yours. What I would do is just make a copy, right? Click File. You want to make a copy of it, and then you want to save it in your Google Drive, and you rename it however you want, right? And I'm telling you, this process right here, it's great for organizing your resume. It's good for you, again, knowing more about your skills, everything that you have to offer, right? So when I first went through this, I first listed every single opportunity that I've worked in. I've worked, like, whether it was for a nonprofit, whether it was for a for-profit, you know, even volunteer efforts I've put on here, right? Because even though it was volunteer, I did do work, and there was a lot of learning that I experienced, right? I was a tutor and a TA at NJIT, more specifically with the EOP program with them for a few years before Tony retired. And again, amazing time, right? I learned a lot. Now, again, I listed all these different roles that I've had. And for those, if you don't have any work experience, obviously you can't be as extensive as mine is, right? And it doesn't have to be, it just has to be you, right? But what I want to explain, like the real value in this, is when you scoot over here and you start talking about what the activities and skills were, what you were reading or learning at that phase in your life, and what results did you enjoy? Like, were you good at what you did at that job or that role? And what were your interests? And I share this because when I look back at my resume is really big on the results, right? But if I didn't break it down this way for myself, it wouldn't have been as easy for me to just do it, because I was still thinking in resume writing. I was still thinking, oh, it has to be polished, it has to be clean. With an exercise sheet like this, it doesn't have to be clean. You can organize everything that you've done for every role that you've done, but more specifically, you can get real sniper with understanding the results that you created for that business or that entity. And this is important specifically with startup companies, because startup founders, startup hiring managers, they want to make sure that you have either the skills or that you have a track record of producing results for others. I'm going to say that one more time. Startup companies are seeking for people who get results. They are seeking for people who have experience in getting results, even if it's not at another job. The experience could have been volunteering. The experience could have been you doing stuff in high school. The experience could be you running an organization on campus, right? It can be you running you being part of a fraternity or sorority and being an active member and having results, right? So when I first worked, like, again, when I worked at Blueberry Builders, as an example, it was the first role that I took on after graduating, and I was super excited. I was so hype, right? We were doing design build, so I had the opportunity to work as an architectural designer and a construction manager, right? So it gave me a lot of experience out the gate. And with that, when I first made my resume for a few years, I would just talk about the activities and skills, right? So you would see these are literally straight from my resume. Designing and completing blueprints, mock-ups, presentations. I manage the construction teams and budgets. Consistently communicate and update the team, recruit other members, presented custom solutions for high-end clients. A lot of our clients were like high-end residential, high-end like jewelry and fashion, Versace, Claire Vivier, Stephen Allen, Elizabeth James and the Row. I worked with the Olsen twins, and it's cool, right? But when I talked about it, it's just like very generic. And it wasn't until I did this exercise where I actually was able to kind of get the gold out of what actually happened, right? Because when I focus on the results, I'm like, wow, like when I was there, I actually doubled the size of the team. Like I went and recruited NJIT students, right? If I was trying to make the resume specific for an architectural job, this is the only thing that I was talking about. But as soon as I started to talk about the results, I could actually see the impact that I had on that company, right? I was able to bring in, $700,000 with 2 deals in my first 8 months working there. And again, I wasn't even in the sales department. I was presenting for the company. I was creating the presentations for the company, and we were able to close some pretty big deals. And over the 2 years that I was there, I contributed to helping close over $2.2 million, right? In construction jobs, architectural jobs, and asbestos inspection jobs, right? It was like a fun fact while I was there. It was very small, like it was a small thing that I did for the company, which is to be the in-house inspector. I was an asbestos inspector for the company as well in my second year that I was there. And again, it was a small business. It was a small portion or sector of the business, but it didn't exist when I got there. So when I got there, the founder of the company, again, a startup company, he was the investigator, he was the asbestos inspector, he was a general contractor, he was a licensed architect, right? He played all these hats, and the more people that he brought in, the less he was able to do all those things, so he can focus on building the business, right? Which is what I help people do now. And in doing so, he said, Josmar, I'll pay for the investigators thing, just get the asbestos inspection investigators thing, and we'll be good. And I started to do asbestos inspections. And for those that don't know, when you're working in construction in Manhattan, every job needs an inspector, right? Every job needs an inspection when you're breaking through a wall. So again, I wrote it off as it wasn't a big deal, right? We only brought in like $50,000 with that service. However, we started a service from scratch. It won awards. We got awards from the Best of Manhattan Awards. And when I kind of just changed the way that I was seeing of the results that I played in that business, it changed the way I saw myself in every other company. And then I started to do this for every role. I promoted 3 times in 7 months. I helped this company do this much in development. Like, again, seeing the results that you're able to create now as a student and being results oriented now with your language is going to give you an edge over a lot of other people who haven't had these conversations, right? So I went a little bit further with this because it's extremely important that you understand what your talents are, what the results are, and more specific, what your interests are. Because if you can find a startup that's in alignment with your interests, then you're going to be happier being there, right? And if you can identify what those interests are and you can match that people at that company might also have the same interests, these are things that you can talk about during the job fair and when you're having conversations with recruiters and with hiring managers. Okay, so use this resource. All right, this is the first thing that I do with my clients. My clients pay me a lot of money to do this, and this is the first thing I do with them, and I just gave it to you for free. Please use it. Like, please use it. It's there for you, right? There's another sheet here if you want to keep that one clean. I've done it. I've done this for many people in my family as well and other people that I've worked with. Use this document, okay? It'll help you immensely, right? And let me just take a roll of the time. It's 3:24. Okay, so we have enough, all right? So with this as well, you're getting a lot of information. You're getting overwhelmed, and it's fine because you're going to be able to go through all of this at your own speed, right? And you're going to be able to ask very specific questions at the end of this conversation because I've gone through a lot that you were able to consider when it comes to preparing yourself for next week, right? So here's the conscious pitch exercise. This is an iteration. I created this specifically for startup founders who are, selling and promoting their business and pitching at events. But it still correlates to this conversation of securing a job, right? So let me actually see if I can show you the demonstration in the PowerPoint. That's probably the best way to go about doing it. When it comes to clarifying your pitch, again, I'm going to do this in the way that I typically teach it, and then I've added some bonus language patterns for you that are more specific to speaking to a hiring manager about what you offer, about your value proposition, right? So the 6 questions you want to ask yourself: what is your title, right? Or what is the job title that you're looking for? What is the goal title that you're going to be looking for in the beginning of your process? And what do you do? Now, what do you do is not a title, and that's why I made the distinction. What you do is actually what you do, like the actual step-by-step activities, the tasks that you take on and in your role, and how long do those things take, right? And this is just for your awareness, right? Now, when you're answering these questions, just be open, right? Because it's going to change over time. I've been asking myself these questions on a monthly basis since 2012, okay? And the answers to these questions have changed many, I would say hundreds of times, right? So what's in it for them? What do they get? Like, what's in it for them? Why should they care, right? So who do you do it for? Essentially, for you guys, it's either the industry or the company, right? Or a sector of an industry, a segment in the industry. What's in it for those people? What's in it for the people that are going to be hiring you? And why do people choose you? Why should somebody choose you over somebody else? Like, what qualifies you specifically to serve them? And how do they change, or what do they gain as a result? Okay, so these are important. And for the sake of this example, I'm providing my answers so that I can go over it with you, right? So I'm a fractional chief operating officer. I help businesses go from operating in their business to transition to working on the business. So I help startup founders grow and scale their company and then become the owner of the company, which is more of the, working on the company and being able to have leverage in that conversation, right? So I do this through one-on-one conversations. I do this through Zoom calls like this. I create presentations. I install marketing and sales teams, right? Yada, yada, yada. These are all the things that I do. And for you, you would have the tasks that you would be doing in your specific role. And if you don't know what those tasks are for that specific role, you should start studying those, right? Because that's what's going to be expected of you when you do take on these roles. If you qualify, if you have a great conversation with these recruiters, they bring you in for an interview, you're going to be having these conversations. What do you do, or what do you prepare to do for another company, right? Who do I do it for? I focus specifically with founders and C-suite executives in different industries, right? Construction, I've done SaaS and technology, and most recently I've been working with online education companies and online education and online training companies, right? What's in it for them? The people that I work with, they learn what to say, when to say it, how to say it, right? To promote themselves at scale. They are fearless of pitching at scale because now they know that they have a team behind them, so they don't have to be the one doing all the work. And they choose me because I've done it before, right? I work with different startups. I have equity ownership in a few of them, right? So they choose me because I take the time to understand what they're going through, do a lot of the foundational work to understand what it is that they do, who they're serving, how they're serving them, and then what they've done so far, so that I know what they're missing and what to install when I work with these companies. And at the end of the day, they feel confident that they can become a business owner again, right? Startup founders are they start up as businesses and launchers, and then over time they become operators, right? They're working in the business, maybe they're playing a lot of different roles. So over time, that energy, that startup energy starts to dwindle little by little, and it's natural. It's a part of physics, it's a part of nature. The larger a company gets, the more things are going to happen in a company, the more tasking it is on a business owner. And to be able to kind of separate yourself from those activities is the result that I help with people with. So I say this because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. When you're using a pitch or a hook, right? When you're at this career fair, you're going to be pitching, like you're going to be communicating what it is that you do, what it is that you're looking for, right? You are the user. Let's imagine that the ball in the screen is your pitch, right? It's the value proposition or the request or the conversation you're having with them, right? So again, this is a business pitch, but it can also be used. The person that you're talking to is the catcher. They are catching the pitch, right? So they're catching what you're saying. And what do catchers do after they caught the ball? Right? They're going to pitch it back. They're going to pitch it back. So based on what you say, right, they're going to cognize what you say in the moment for the moment, and then either ask you a question or continue talking about something else, right? So you got to be prepared, right? They're going to come back with something, right? So what you're saying, for the most effective way to have this conversation is to pull them in with, they're pitching it back, and then you want to be able to pull them in the conversation. So how do you do that at an event? How is this done? And I say it's done 3, 6, 4, 5, 2. 3, 6, 4, 5, 2. What does that mean? Right? So we just went over the sequence, right? What do you do? Or they're trying to communicate with you. Hey, my name is Josmar Tejeda. I'm an architectural senior, and my goal is to help help design build companies create amazing work for their clients. I really wanted to work with businesses. I didn't necessarily want to focus on residential. It's like, well, I want to help architects and construction managers in the in the commercial space, right? I help 364, right? I help 364 is who you're serving, the result that they're getting, and why it matters to them, right? You're gonna wait for a response. Wait for a response, right? I'm gonna lay it out for you now. Then proceed with I-5-2, which is why people choose you and what you actually do, right? They got the why, they got the what, they got the how. So depending on if there's a match between what you're saying and what they're hearing, they're going to either invite you to another conversation. They might invite you to an interview. They might invite you to a group interview, right? And if you're in a position to invite them, then you would be making the invitation, right? If you had something to offer to them, would it be okay if I gifted you something, right? And this is clarity call for an example, right? Just an example. Would it be okay if I followed up with you via email? Would it be okay if I followed up with you via text? Would it be okay if I connected with you on LinkedIn? Right? By you asking for permission up front. The word, these are magic words. Would it be okay if? It allows the person to, again, they want to answer it. And it's, since it's like it's an indirect question. Would it be okay? You're asking for permission. So when you're asking for permission, you're actually in a position of power because you're asking the question, right? And then the where and the when will reveal itself over time, right? In this case, you guys are looking for a job role. It's going to change, right? So I just wanted to go over this so that I can go back to the documents that I'm giving you, which has this laid out already. So what do, right? I assist business owners and their teams in converting cold conversations into new revenue in 90 days. Oh, wow, right? I assist mechanical engineering companies in producing the best products now and in the future, right? I assist medical companies in developing new solutions in the biomedical field so that they can help their clients with the mission of the startup, right? You can use this as interchangeable. You can use this for pretty much anything, right? And then how do you do that? Or they ask you to clarify, or you've already done your pitch and you see that they're giving you time to talk. If they're giving you the time to talk, that means they're still interested in hearing more of what you got to say. In those cases, you want to just continue with the 5-2, right? So for the past couple of years, I've helped millions of dollars, I've helped generate millions of dollars for the companies that I've worked with via presentations, phone calls, texts, and strategic partnerships. That's the 5, right? And then what I do, well, I mainly do that by conducting one-on-one conversations with founders, consulting them and helping them elevate their positioning, writing sales letters, right? So since you're a student, your answers right now are not going to be this polished, and that's okay. I want you to know that that is okay. But getting this stuff now when you're at college is going to give you an edge over a lot of people. Trust me. I know this because this language is, these language patterns work in sales. They work with ads, right? They work with a lot of stuff. And I've been to a lot of networking events. I cut through a lot of noise by being able to communicate this way, dressing myself this way, and then being able to initiate a follow-up, right? Or what do you do? So tell me more about what it is that you do for X company. So how long have you been with X company, and like what's your favorite part about it, right? You've already given your value proposition and you're not making it about yourself. You're going back to them, right? If they introduce themselves first and what they do, this is the moment to go back. It's like, you mentioned that you work in this role, are there any openings for this role that I'm looking for? Right? Again, you want to keep the conversation going. And the best way to practice for this is to practice for this. You want to practice with yourself. You want to practice with your friends, right? If you want to take a screenshot of this, you can. But again, you're going to have the replay to this as well, right? So this is a nice little talking track that I use, and it works. So let me go back to these assets, continue to deliver these assets for you, go over it, and then we'll have about 10 minutes for Q&A. Let me go over to sharing my Google Chrome again. Okay, so in this document that I've given you already in the chat, this your conscious pitch exercise, you'll notice the 6 questions are here. You can copy this as well, right? Just make a copy of all these. I should probably post that at the top of all these, but I definitely will. Create a copy for yourself. This is a little bit more information about the hook. Here's the sequence that we just went through, and I actually included I help, I assist, I want to work for, I am searching for, I am looking for, and then the breakdown is here as well so that you can practice, right? The best way to do this is just to do it. You got to do it and practice it, right? Recently, I finished a project. I was part of an engineering project where we won first place. Recently, I was admitted to the Albert Dorman's Honors College, right? Recently, I was able to do this and that and a third, right? Talk about your experience, right? If you're a student, you again, this is the easiest stuff to do. Just talk about what you know, right? When you talk about what you know, you seem confident. When you're talking about things you don't know, you're trying to make things up, that's when people are perceiving you as not being confident what you're talking about, right? So adapting this for a job, fair, or conversation with a recruiter. I gave you guys very specific talking tracks. Hi, my name is this. I'm passionate about this profession with a specific skill or expertise here, right? So if you've done the work in the skills assessment, right? That was this, gift number 6, the experience and skills assessment. You're going to be able to copy and paste what you've already written in these documents. And this is why I wanted to give them to you over sequence so that you realize, oh, wow, Josemar, this guy's overwhelming me with too much stuff. Like, no, I'm giving you what you need in the order that you need to know it so that you can copy and paste things and make it easier for yourself, right? You're at an advantage that we didn't have, which is having things like ChatGPT and all these AIs that work amazing, right? So what I find myself doing now is I take scripts, copywriting language, things that I've already created over the last 10 years, and I just put them into ChatGPT and I play with them until I find something that works, right? But the best way to do this is just to do it manually. I'm telling you now, you don't want to lean on AI to do your work for you. The people who know what works, the fundamentals of what works, are the people who have success, right? AI is an asset for them, doesn't do the work for them, right? So take these into account, but I've placed these here so that you can use these as a fill in the blanks. And then I've also included here, which is very important for you, questions to inquire about a role, right? Can you tell me more about a specific responsibilities, about the specific role? These are the type of questions that you want to ask the recruiters. Okay. Take a few of them, take which ones are most important for you in identifying the role that you're looking for, the role that you're looking to fill. Use them accordingly. Again, see what they say, track your results, take note of what they're saying, share it with yourself, and prepare accordingly, right? So there's also some questions to initiate follow-up. Do you have a business card, right? Who should I contact about this role? Right? These are the different types of questions you want to use. And again, it's best to practice this. So I practice stuff like this with my friends, with my fraternity brothers, anybody really who's willing to hear me. I'm practicing this stuff all the time. All right. So I gave you 6, and let me give you these last 2. So real quick, I'm not going to go too much into this because again, this is its own training. And the good thing about leverage is that you can leverage other people's information. So I am a certified masterclass practitioner, and I was trained by this man. His name is Joel Bauer. You're going to see a little image of him in a bit when it finishes loading. And this man, for the sake of not going too far into it, has absolutely changed my life and my career. So one of the small things that he talks about, and this is a gentleman who's brought in multiple billions of dollars in for the companies he's worked with. He was at Apple for 15 years when they were at their prime with Steve. He was behind their marketing and their sales for a while. He's behind Intel, Toshiba, Kodak, a lot of these corporations that have been in the game for a long time. He was a consultant for them. They paid him a lot of money. And he used a lot of their money too to research. And what he found in the research is that when you're dressing for success, you want to wear and wrap your package, okay? You want to wear a black or a dark, maybe navy blue, maybe brown, something that complements your hair color, but black is what's going to have you stand out the most, okay? So I want you to imagine you go to this event. If you're a woman, you're wearing a black blazer, maybe a high blouse. Doesn't necessarily need to be a collar shirt. It could be a blouse, but it's an insert, right? If you don't want to use a tie, you definitely want to use colored, right? So what do the colors mean, or what are they effective in? I'm going to share them with you, and I'm also giving you here this link. This link is actually to a flip book that goes over not just this process, but several other processes to help you stand out and be looked at as the authority in your industry, especially for those who are looking to become entrepreneurs yourselves. That training itself is worth thousands of dollars, and I wanted to make sure that you had it because, again, it absolutely changed my life. And I know that by you having it this early on in your career, it's going to give you a sick edge over anybody else in your market, especially when it comes to making first impressions and working for yourself, right? So you have that as well. Just share that in the chat. You can check out that flip book when you guys whenever it's available to you, when you have the time to do it. But the black is a frame. When you wear a black suit and a white shirt, people are forced to look at your face. They're forced to look at your communication. They're forced to look at your face, and they're forced to look at your hands, because everything else is framed out in black. The subconscious mind sees what sees your body. It automatically focuses on the communication areas of your body. Okay, black and white is great for first impression. Right, you can be a little bit more casual and not do a tie. Black and white is really good for setting first impression. The color blue, we're going to go right to left. The color blue is for trust. When you're working or when you're talking to people and you want them to trust you, again, the stuff works. It's kind of scary how much it works. I went to Walmart the other day in a full suit, and people were going out of their way to help me. Like, cashiers were opening up their cash registers even after they were already clocked out, just to be able to help me. And I'm like, what's going on here? And I'm like, oh, I forgot I'm wearing a suit, right? You get treated differently when you're suited and booted. Okay. Now, blue is for trust. Red is for charity or donations or giving. It's also for action, right? Yellow is for attention. When I go to networking events, I wear a black blazer, and either I'm wearing a bright yellow shirt or like a bright coral shirt, right? Also with pink, right? Pink is what we call the closing color. It is the heart connection. It is, as a man, if you're wearing pink, it's a very prominent color to wear. It exemplifies confidence, but it really communicates to the heart space, the heart chakra, right? So again, I'll allow you to learn a little bit more by checking out the flip book if that's something that interests you. But you want to make sure, if you don't have a black suit, get one. If you can get a navy blue one. For women specifically, again, getting a nice a blazer, either slacks, right, pants, or even a skirt. Just make sure that the skirt is maybe no more than 2 inches above the knee. You want to make sure that it's above the knee because you're going to need to walk and walk elegantly, right? But you want to make sure that you're not revealing too much. This is not about seeing your body. It's not about revealing your body. You want to be dressed professionally so that you can make the best first impression. And then again, last thing I'll be giving you is nonverbal communication. I've been doing a lot of it on this call, and I want you to just go over this definitely on your own time, because it's stuff to note and it's worthy for you to take advantage of this stuff now. It's just being cognizant of how you're standing, how you're communicating, making eye contact with people, having a firm handshake, mirroring the other person's body language, right? Getting on the side of them, like I said earlier, or in front of them, depending on the gender that you're talking to. Give them a firm handshake. Your face, like, mind your your face. Like, I love engineers. Sometimes my friends who are engineers, they make these facial expressions when I'm talking, and I'm like, you know that your face is doing that. But take note of how your face is and how you're responding with your body, because those are all micro things that, again, they're not necessarily things that you take notice of consciously. They're happening subconsciously, right? It's nonverbal, right? So you want to make sure that you practice. And again, take some time, put your suit on, put your outfit on that you're going to wear, get your pitch down, start communicating, and start just modeling these different things. And again, it's going to get worse for you before it gets better. Okay. Things are always going to be worse before they get better. but they get better with practice, they get better with time, and they get better with continuous execution, right? So for the sake of today's workshop, I'm pretty much done. I have successfully delivered these assets to you. Please take the time to go over them. Like, again, I made these for you, right? I stayed up last night until very late to make sure that these were polished so that you had something to go with, right? And again, people pay for these things, right? So I wanted to make sure that you had them because I want you to be able to pay for things like this. I want you to be able to have a great job. I want you to be able to make a first impression. I want you to be able to have an edge over anybody else that's going to this event next week, right? But the edge is only going to happen if you put in the work. Okay. So again, thank you all for being here. For those of you that are here on Zoom with me, if you want to unmute yourself, ask a question, you can definitely do so now. Or you can put it in the chat as a question and I'll answer it to the best of my ability. For those in the room, I'm not sure if either Rob or Miguel, you can unmute, you can add it here as well, add some questions that's happening in the room, and I will surely answer them, right? So far I'm getting some direct messages. We have, again, thank you so much. You're welcome. It's going to be really helpful. Have fun at this career fair. Please take advantage of everything that we're doing and practice. Like, again, if the NJIT, Entrepreneur Society, and CDS and VentureLink and everybody who's involved with this event on Monday, right? If they went through the work of providing this opportunity for you, you should be taking full advantage of not just this event, but all the services that those organizations can supply you with, right? Another question that from Steve, would it be better to go to as many career fairs as possible or certain ones and have some more research on said fairs? That reminds me, I need to get you another asset. So let me get that quick. It's always best to go to as many career fairs as possible. Again, there's a big difference between a startup company and a corporate entity, right? They're different in the resources that they have available, the types of jobs that they have. So you want to practice as much as possible. You want to get your reps in. So definitely go to as many career fairs as you can. Go to as many networking events as you can. Like my friends like to say, you're only one relationship away from changing your life, right? But those relationships happen when you show up for yourself. So definitely, if you're considering or you see events, maybe there's an event somewhere else. Maybe it's at another school. Maybe it's maybe it's an event that's happening off campus and it's a networking event that's hosted by an organization. I know for sure they happen in Newark because I used to work for the city of Newark, and there's a lot of networking events that happen, right? A lot of networking events. So I do have one resource that I believe I can share with you, and I'm sure you might already have it. But these are some of the companies that are going to be there. Some of the startups that now again, for the rep from Entrepreneur Society, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I have a question for you. So Eliza sent me over a form. It's a career fair form. It's basically like a copy of the responses from the Google form. Is this something that I can share with the students? Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And we're also planning, we're just getting final confirmation from like one or two. And once we get the last list, we're planning on sending an email end of day today or first thing tomorrow. But yeah, go ahead and share that. And then we're going to send out that list to everyone that's registered. So yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. I just wanted to make sure before
Yeah, no, definitely. You're good.
Before I said something I'm not supposed to say. So this would be the last asset. So again, the team at ES was able to put together again, just a nice little printout PDF of contact information for the companies, some of the companies that are going to be at this career fair on next week. So I just also posted that as well. And I'll also provide a list to CDS and to the Entrepreneur Society of all the emails of everybody who's registered for this event. That way you have that. You have a running list of everybody and a copy of all these assets. So feel free to use this and give it out to anybody moving forward. I'm sure that we will get a chance to create some very specific programs and trainings on this and kind of break it out into maybe even a larger event or maybe even a conference. But yeah, again, I'm grateful that you are here. Thank you for giving me the time to share some of the things that I love, and for giving me the opportunity to also come back, and whether it be online, or offline, being able to do something with students of NJIT. Again, it's really exciting. And for those of you that don't know, I'm actually in West Palm Beach, Florida. I came down for a 5-day vacation in 2017, and yeah, it's been a long vacation. And again, moving down here, I had to kind of redesign and transform and transition my career. And using the stuff that I just gave you, I was able to mingle very quickly, get myself into some very powerful conversations, and secure the contracts that I have now, and secure the partnerships with startups that I have now, right? So do the work, go through these documents. You'll be surprised at how polished you're going to sound compared to your friends. Okay. Any more questions? Any questions from inside the room? Because if not,
No, I think we're all good.
beautiful. So, because I know it's 3:55, some of you may have class. So again, thank you so much for being here. I'll send out my contact information as well in the email that I'll send out when I send out the replay. I'm also going to send PDF version, the links for these and PDF versions, if that works for you as well, so you can print these out. But again, copy these documents, make it your own, take ownership, and show up on Monday. And if it doesn't go great, that's fine. That's just one career fair, right? If it goes well, congratulations. I pray and I hope that you have an amazing career, and hope to see you in the next few workshops that we're looking to host this semester, next semester, and for the next few years.
Perfect. Thank you,
Because,
Josmar.
we'll be in contact with you, all right? We appreciate you, man.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking the time.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day. And Rob, good luck on your midterm, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Appreciate you guys. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Tarun. Thank you, everybody who was here. Jordan, have an amazing day.